So I'm Nick Boulanger. I am an event coordinator here. Thank you all for coming. I also want to thank Weave for hosting us. We are completely volunteer based, so we rely on the generosity of companies like Weave to provide the space. And also thank you to Nectar for providing this delicious pizza. We have 6 more pizzas coming, by the way, so we're almost running out, but we have 6 more, so don't worry. This has been an event I've been looking forward to for a bit, just because I've worked mostly for companies that are post-product market fit, where usually you're focusing on the vision over the next few years or enhancing the core product. And if you work on the wrong thing, you want to avoid it, but it's generally not the end of the world. In Nate's world, the speaker, that's completely different. He's worked for a few pre-product market fit companies, and working on the wrong thing could mean the death of the company. So he's going to talk a little bit about how he strategizes and navigates that. Nate works for Nectar HR. They do employee recognition software, and he has grown that company for 10x in revenue, and grown the company from 5 to 45 employees, so pretty impressive. And his interests include real estate investing. So if anyone wants to talk to him about that afterwards, feel free to do so. Oh yeah, before I kick it off to him, next event we have is July 27th. It will be with Lucid, with their Chief Product Officer, Dan Lawyer. So that should be a pretty cool one. But anyway, let's give a warm welcome to Nate Tingey.
Thanks, Nick. There's not really a microphone. This is the microphone. So if you can't hear me, tell me to speak up. But super excited to be here. Love Product Hive. Been a part of Product Hive for a long time. Most of the time as an observer and a learner. I'm not on Slack a ton, putting a bunch of messages and content in there. Maybe I should do it a little bit more. But I've been pretty focused and heads down at work. And so I go in there for the occasional, what's going on, what's the latest in the product world. And so it's fun when Nick and Jeremy reached out to me to talk at this event. Like Nick said, I work for a company called Nectar HR. We do employee rewards and recognition. And I kind of wanted to just talk a little bit about how I got to that point. And it will come into context later on. But before I was in college, or while I was in college, I was a little entrepreneurial minded, and e-commerce was a big thing. And I had some friends doing some e-commerce stuff. So I said, I'm going to build a little company. We're going to sell some stuff on the internet, and we're going to try this out. And so it was called Think Africa. We made a necklace that looked like this, and we got some traction, and we were selling necklaces on the internet. But it was my first time where I saw the power of software. And the reason I say that is because it was all e-commerce, but our marketing was like purely through Instagram. We had a little Instagram profile, and we'd post pictures on that. But then I found out that I could program bots to leverage Instagram, and I could pick an influencer in my category or niche, right? And I could have the bot take control of my profile, go to the influencer's profile, see who follows the influencer, and then start following the people that follow the influencer. And every time you follow somebody on Instagram, usually they get a notification that, hey, you have a new follower. And so it's just a numbers game from there. They would see that we had followed them, and then some people would look at our page to see what was going on. And once they saw our page, they saw our product, a lot of them would head to the website, and it was just basically this automated process to get customers. It was really cool. And I was like, I have struck gold here, because I can just pour money into this bot, and I'm making way more money out the other side. It was really great. For about 3 months, I was apparently on the tail end of this bot phase. And it was just like hand over fist money coming in. And I was like, man, I should quit school, all this stuff. Good thing I didn't quit school, because Instagram decided we are gonna put the kibosh on all bots, and basically the revenue just dried up overnight, right? So good thing I didn't quit school, but I learned that there's some serious power in software, which started me kind of on my journey in school. And then I learned that don't build your platform on somebody else's platform necessarily. So then I went to BYU, where I studied information technology, just because it was like general technology, super broad. You could specialize in cybersecurity, systems administration, web development, networking, UX design, all kinds of things. And it was nice because you got a little bit of taste of everything. You could kind of figure out which area you wanted to go into. Well, I decided I wasn't the best programmer in the world. I didn't really like it. Like late nights, staying up, why won't my project compile? Where is the dang semicolon? That's not there, you know? And it just felt inefficient to me. And I was like, I know somebody knows this better, so why can't I just give it to them? And so I decided to focus in UX design, and honestly was not the best UX designer out there. I could work Figma, I could do some designs, but I wasn't like a graphic designer or anything. I couldn't do anything pretty. And out of school, I was fortunate to work for a company called Sawtooth Software. Some of the guys are here. They were lucky, or I was lucky that they gave me a chance to go work there, not as a UX designer. I interviewed for that position, they said no. And I interviewed for like another position and they said no. And then finally they said, well, let's have you do something in product. And I was like, heck yeah, that's the best of all the cases I could have asked for. So I was lucky to go there, do some product stuff. And there I did a lot of different projects and worked on different things. I worked on marketing stuff. I worked on product stuff. We redid websites. I was working with engineers. And it was a lot of working on different things, was just making it happen. A lot of different hats. Sawtooth was a small company, around 40-ish employees at the time. And it was really, really fun. While I was at Sawtooth, the CEO of Nectar, who I had previously known before he started the company, we were friends. I would talk to him a lot. I would talk to him about his business venture, basically. And he finally convinced me to come over to Nectar in 2021. And I was like employee number 2 or 3. So they were a very early startup. But for some reason, I thought that they were not an early startup, even though we only had 4 of us or 5 of us. So I went over to Nectar. And to give you some background on Nectar, which will be important for the talk, they're an employee rewards and recognition company. These are some of the fun clients that we have, like the MLB, Golden State Warriors, Redfin. Those are some fun clients. But the platform is basically a recognition platform that employees can use to give each other recognition. And the whole point of it is to build the company culture, right? And so I started there. We had 5 people total, including the founders when I started, and now we're at like 45. And at the time, we've since 16x revenue since I joined, which has been super fun. So it's been pretty high growth, but we've also tried to be very lean, not spend a lot of money, not raise a lot of money, because we want to be in charge of our destiny. And yeah, so it's been great. To give a little bit more background on the product, basically everyone gets a certain amount of points at the beginning of each month, and those points have a monetary value. So you are encouraged to give your points out to your colleagues and your peers and then in the form of recognition and shout outs. And then they can take those points, save them up, and then redeem them for a certain reward, whether that be gift card, something on Amazon, we have an Amazon integration, or company swag, whatever. But our purpose at Nectar is to help people feel more valued and appreciated at work. And the purpose kind of gives us that centralized mission of what we're working towards and keeps us aligned. Now, I'd be lying to you if we said we knew our purpose from day one, because we didn't. There are some founders out there who know what their purpose is from day one, and they do not veer from that. We had quite the journey of figuring out what that purpose was, what our product was, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, so this presentation is titled The Art of Competing. And why is competing an art? And my answer to that is a lot of things have to go right. You are balancing sales, you are balancing marketing, you're balancing product, you're balancing customer success and the finances of the company. And you just have to, all those things have to go right. And if one of them is not going right, the rest suffer dramatically. And you can't compete very well. So that's why it's an art. But ultimately, product market fit is paramount, and product market fit makes all of those things a lot easier, right? If you're product market fit, you're making sales. Your marketing team is getting leads because people want the product. Funding is easier because you have sales, right? You can raise more money. CS is a little bit easier because people want the product and they don't want you to make tons of changes. So product market fit is paramount. And we'll keep coming back to this throughout the talk here. Now, we got to define who are we competing against? Well, in the beginning, before you have product market fit, you are competing against failure, against non-existence. If you don't find product market fit, you're going to run out of funding, your company's going to die, and you're going to have to go figure out something else to do. When you do have product market fit, you start competing against other competitors. Everyone has competitors, no matter what they are. Even if you think you don't, you do. Some of them are failure, right? So when you're competing with failure, the first thing you're trying to do is achieve product market fit. You just got to get there. Everything depends on that. Otherwise, you fail, and you are just can't go anywhere. How do you achieve that, though? So with Nectar, we've had a lot of different products, a lot of different names of the company. Nectar in its current form has been around for 3 years, but if you look at the company as a whole and zoom out, we've been around for 2016, 2017. And CEO of the company, his name's Trevor. He's from Arizona, and he was moving up here to Utah to go to school. And in Arizona, he had a car detailing company, and he would detail people's cars. And he had a lot of connections in Arizona because he'd grown up there. And so he was like, well, I'll just do the same thing in Utah. Moved up to Utah, had 0 connections up here, knew nobody. So it's like a lot harder to get business that way. And so he decided, okay, instead of detailing individuals' cars, we'll go to a company and we'll ask them if we can detail people's cars at work while they're at work. So we went to Qualtrics, and they were like, yeah, we'll send out a sign-up sheet, and whoever signs up, then you can detail their car. And it was really cool. He was detailing lots of cars. I would always help him. It's a nice little income for both of us. And we would detail some fun cars. Like detailing Brian Smith's car at Qualtrics was pretty darn cool. A little scary. You didn't want to mess that one up. But we detailed a lot of cars. And in the winter time, we had this system where it was like a no water type wash where you spray stuff on and you wipe it off. And it would get so cold. It was like 8 degrees outside. You spray it on the car, it freezes on the car, your hands are frozen. It was terrible. And so he said, well, we don't want to be in this business forever. And so Trevor said, what if we took these on-site services and packaged them up and sold them as a service? So car detailing, oil changes. I know there's companies that like pump gas into your car at work, rock chip repairs, haircuts, etc. Like, let's just take all these services, package them up, and then sell access to them as a service. So that was the first iteration of Nectar. It's called Perk City. Really cheesy name, play off of Park City, but yeah, Perk City. And so we did that, and we got, a handful of clients, Vivint, Qualtrics, and some other ones down there in Provo. But it was very, very hard to scale, right? Some services that were offered in Utah County, but weren't offered in Salt Lake County. And that's just Utah, right? It's like, man, how are we going to scale this to Colorado or California or other states or national? So that was product A. Product B became, okay, let's offer some discounts to places, because HR was telling us, hey, we really like this service. We want to offer more perks to our employees. Let's offer some discounts. So we started going out to various restaurants, getting discounts and putting them in an app and selling that as a service. And we did all right here in Utah. We got some big clients like doTERRA and Entrada, and they would pay us a large amount of money, like baffling amounts of money for us for what this platform actually is and the amount of value that you get from it. And so we were like, man, we've got something here. And so we, kept trying to roll it out to more companies, but ultimately the price point was too high, the value was not enough, and only some people in the companies use these discounts. And then the other problem was it was very, very hard to scale nationally, and that's how you grow very fast, is growing nationally. And so we found some other discount providers that offered national discounts, and we said, hey, let's partner with you, let's put you in our platform, et cetera. And we did that, and it was fine. We had, some revenue, but it wasn't growing, and it wasn't anything like a hockey stick. And as we talked more to our buyers, which were HR, they said, along with these perks, we really want to reward employees for things. And right now, it's kind of a messy system. We have like a drawer full of gift cards. People go out and give gift cards around, but it's just kind of messy. It's an accounting nightmare, blah, blah, blah. And so we said, okay, well, we could take that system and put it into software and make a way for you to load money into the system, disperse money to various managers who have a certain budget to give to their employees, and then those managers can then send out links to digital gift cards, and a link where the user can pick whatever gift card they want, because as we all know, you can get a gift card for something that you're never going to use. A lot of people in Utah don't drink coffee. You give them a Starbucks gift card, it's like 50-50 shot if they're going to use it or not, right? And so pretty discouraging when you're rewarded with something that you don't really like or you're not going to use, right? And so this was kind of our product C. And it was great. We had some good buyers, but we didn't have product market fit in the true sense of the word. And there was no hockey stick growth, no big revenue growth. And so what we kept seeing is there's a lot of people giving rewards out, but these rewards are managers to employee, right? But the experience we were hearing from HR was, well, when we do our employee engagement surveys, the employees are still not feeling recognized, even though we are giving out all this money to them, they're just not feeling recognized. And so we said, okay, right now it's manager to employee. What if we kind of flip this on its head, and instead of the managers having all the budget to give to the employees, what if we just kind of gave the budget to everybody and employees could recognize each other instead of just managers? Everyone could recognize each other. And so that's where Nectar came to be. And we call it 360-degree recognition, because managers can recognize employees, employees can recognize managers, employees can recognize their colleagues. It's just all over the place. It's like this massive web of recognition. And we give the budget to everybody. We say, okay, you've got 100 points to give this month. And 100 points, or the conversion is 10 points to $1. So 100 points is $10, which is not that much, but that's not the real important part of the product, right? The important part of the product was people needed to feel recognized. They were missing that. That was the problem that needed to be solved. And because people didn't feel recognized, their culture was suffering. So we rolled this out the beginning of 2020, like January. And it was going good. And we were actually seeing a lot of sales, and then COVID hit, right? And everything stopped. Everybody was like, we're just not spending money right now until we figure out what's going on. And then near the end of 2020, still started trickling in. And then by the end of 2020, it was like, shoot, our workforce is remote, or our workforce is hybrid. we are having a very hard time maintaining our company culture in this remote and hybrid world. And so we need something to fix that culture. How can we capture what we had in the office in the virtual world? So that really was some really good tailwinds and some really nice luck for us that this recognition platform could solve that problem. Okay, so basically in that story, how do we achieve initial product market fit? Well, we had to iterate fast. We went through a lot of different products, and it was kind of like, this product's working, kind of, is it working, is it working, is it working, it's not working, ditch it, move to the next one, evolve, iterate. Feedback loops need to be tight. That is a theme throughout this talk, is you have to have that feedback. You have to be talking to the customers. You have to be close to sales who's talking to customers, potential customers. You have to be close to CS. You need those feedback loops to be tight. And then you just have to leave your ego at the door. Nothing can be your baby that you've worked on. It's just a stepping stone to what you're trying to get to. And you're going to be wrong a lot of times about certain bets that you're making. Okay. Sorry. Some water. So now we've achieved product market fit. You've achieved product market fit. How are you competing? You've got competitors. Now, once again, we got to define who those competitors are. Maybe you're brand new to a market, but you've achieved product market fit. Those competitors are either direct competitors to you. We discovered there were several direct competitors to us just in Utah alone. In fact, I hope maybe somebody here works for one of my competitors. Several direct competitors, and then you have competitors who like kind of do what your platform does, but not really, or not as well. And then you have the legacy people who, what's like the old way of doing recognition. And that's, in our world, it's like you get a plaque because you've been here for 5 years. Good job, you know, and that's a competitor. And so you have to figure out who those competitors are, and you need to know them. But then as you are building your product out or your platform out, you need to constantly maintain product market fit. It can be lost, and I'll tell you a story about how we lost product market fit for a bit and then found it again. And then as you're getting customers, there's a lot of noise. Customers have a lot of feedback. Everybody wants something, and it's your job to figure out what is the right thing, what's the good feedback. You have to uncover the true problems, and you have to figure out which ones are worth solving. So how do you uncover the true problems? How do you figure out which ones are the worst ones we're solving? Well, you can quantify problems, right? People bring you problems all the time. You have to figure out, okay, how big is this problem? How many customers is it affecting? Is it affecting large customers? Is it affecting small customers? Is it only affecting small customers? Is it only affecting large customers? How many deals have we missed out on because we don't have feature X, right? You have to figure out what those problems are, how big of an issue they are, and then what's the monetary value to solving those problems. So an example is language support. And this is an example for us, but it's also a very common example across a lot of software platforms. We currently are English only, and the nature of our product is we have a buyer who's not necessarily the same as the user. They are a user, but they're not always the user. So our buyer is HR, the HR department and admin there, and they have all their admin features in the product, but the end user rolls out to everybody in the company, like a Slack. And so everyone is using this platform, but companies now are very remote, they're very hybrid. You have some employees who are mostly in the United States, but you might have some in the Philippines, you might have some in China, you might have some in Mexico that speak Spanish. And so HR has a lot of different requirements. They're like, we need the language support for Spanish or French because Canada, apparently there's a law that you have to provide both French and English in everything, right? Including software. And so we say, okay, how many deals have we lost to this? Let's go back, let's look at our CRM documentation. So we document a lot of stuff in HubSpot for all of our deals. And we say, okay, which are all the ones that mention language support? How big was the deal initially? Okay, we can put those together. Go into Slack. Sales people are reporting, hey, I lost this $20,000 deal because we didn't have language support, et cetera. And you can kind of quantify how big this issue is and how much money you could possibly make if you solved the issue, right? Something we're working on right now. So when you've defined the problem, language support's an easy problem to define. And then the solution, language support's another easy solution to define because you just have to translate the words. But there are other problems where the solution is not as clear. The solution is, it could be various things. And you have to, this is where a lot of product talks are, this is where they talk about is like the problem to solution, right? And the iteration. You could figure out a lot of different things. You could wireframe, you talk to customers, say, okay, if we did this, would that solve the problem? But you really need to uncover the true problem before you work on the solution. It's like a thread on your shirt, right? A customer mentions, hey, it would be really nice if I just had this, and that's a little thread. And you start pulling at it and it starts to unravel. And you say, okay, well, what are you trying to do with this? If you had feature X, what are you trying to accomplish with that? Well, I'm trying to get, I want to export this report, and then I want to send it off to this team who can then transform it and send it off to this team. And then eventually it goes to payroll. It's like, okay, so you ultimately need information from our platform to go into payroll because you have to deduct from people's, you have to withhold taxes, right? And so that's an example of pulling on that problem a little bit to uncover what the true problem is. It's not always what it seems, right? And if you are not uncovering the true problem, you're not creating the right solution. You're creating a subset of maybe the right solution, but you're not creating the right solution that is going to fit for a lot of different customers. And then once you have released your solution, this is where you iterate. This is where you have to ask yourself, do we still have product market fit? Are users adopting what our solution that we've proposed is? Are they paying more for it? If they're not, you have a problem. Maybe you didn't do the right thing. Maybe you didn't uncover the right problem, and you kind of have to go back and you have to iterate. So a time when we lost product market fit, we have just rolled out rewards and recognition. We're talking to our customers, and our customers say, hey, this is really great. We kind of want to know if it's working. When we say, okay, well, how do you think you would find out if it's working? And we say, well, we do these surveys to measure the engagement, to see if they're feeling recognized. It would just be nice if that were in the platform. We could do a survey, we could take it, and it could tell us like if this platform is working. We said, sounds logical. So we built a little employee NPS survey and like one other survey, right? And the more surveys we built, we realized it was Pandora's box. HR would say, well, it's really nice that we have these two surveys, but it would be really nice if we could do this other type of survey. And pretty soon, we saw that we were becoming a survey company. And I had just come from a survey company. They literally do this all day long. There are so many different types of surveys. And I was like, whoa, let's take a step back here. If we do this, we're going to lose sight of what we have over here, which is product market fit. And we're going to be competing with Qualtrics. We're going to be competing with SurveyMonkey and Google Forms and all kinds of stuff. And as we built out these survey things, it was just, we want this and this and this. And it was like, whoa, we can't do that. And a lot of these new customers that we're pitching this to, they don't even want the survey part because they already have a survey solution, right? They're already doing these, they already have Qualtrics, SurveyMonkey, Sawtooth, Google Forms. They already have these survey providers. And so we said, okay, we've kind of lost our way. We've lost product market fit a little bit. Product's getting away from us. It's becoming this Pandora's box. We need to step back to recognition and focus. And so we did, and we ultimately killed the product, the survey product, and we had some unhappy customers, but it was something that we needed to do. And it was a lesson that we learned, but it wasn't a lesson that our competitors learned initially. Our competitors either were looking at what we were doing and said, oh, shoot, Nectar has surveys, we need to have surveys too. Or they were hearing the same thing from the market, from some buyers, and they said, okay, we need to have surveys too. And so we had a competitor build out surveys exactly like we were doing, but we had already made the decision to not. And so when we would go head to head with them, it was really scary and hard because you'd be like, well, your platforms pretty much do the same thing, but they also have surveys. And we're like, shoot, like, how do we do this? And we were confident in our decision that it was the right decision, but how do you tell the buyer that our decision is the better one. You don't need surveys. And ultimately we said, okay, we can figure out how to sell around this. Let's make the talk track of, you don't need surveys. You already have a survey platform. You already have a Qualtrics or SurveyMonkey, whatever. You can integrate your survey with our platform. You can link it in to where if you need somebody to take a survey, they can go to this one spot, they click the link, boom, takes them out to do the survey. And ultimately that's what you need, right? And they're like, oh yeah. And so we kind of positioned it as, look, you don't need a survey platform with a rewards or recognition platform. You'll be paying more for both rather than just paying for just a recognition platform. And we were able to sell around it pretty darn well. And it was kind of nice because that competitor was very focused on the surveys. And they were running into the same issues that we had initially run into, where they were trying to get more surveys. And we would see on their social media that, hey, we have this new survey type. We have this new survey type. And it's like, what are you guys? Are you guys a survey company or are you guys a rewards and recognition company? And so we saw that from them, but it was nice because they were distracted. They weren't focusing where we were focusing. And I'm a little bit bummed, but I feel validated that they killed their survey product a few weeks ago. It's just gone. Gone from their website, gone from their product, gone. And I was like, wow, that feels really cool to be validated in that. But huge bummer because now they're focused back where we are. Be wary of big customers. So we as a SaaS company, we built what we call bottoms up, where we started going for small and medium-sized businesses and then mid-market businesses. We did not start with enterprise. And the reason I really, really like that, especially from a product perspective, is big customers, they can steal your roadmap. If you have a couple customers and then you land this massive giant whale, that could be 90%, 80%, 70% of your revenue. And if they say they want something or they're going to cancel, that is a very, very scary position to be in. And you do not want to build your product for that company because you're basically just a dev shop for that company then, right? And so you have to figure out how to build bottoms up. And so quick story with this, we had just landed this company. It was our biggest deal ever, which now looking back on it, it's like, it's not really that big a deal. But it was our biggest deal ever at the time. And they said, okay, we have this old archaic recognition platform, but they have literally these badges that are like gold star awards. And it's like, okay, and they're like, we want to be able to include these. And we're like, well, you can, there's just this, upload a photo. And they're like, no, we want it to be like a template and just an easy select for our users because they're used to this. And so we said, okay, we'll do it. And ultimately, it was just a distraction, a huge distraction. Your time is precious, especially at a startup where time is money. We built it, and that customer loved it. They really loved it. They used it all the time, and I was shocked because I thought it was the stupidest idea in the world to give people gold stars. It's like people see right through that. Come on. But they loved it, and they were a great customer. But nobody else used this feature. Nobody else. I think we have maybe 3 companies using this feature today. And I need to kill it, honestly. But it's just one of those things that doesn't take a lot of maintenance. But so we built the feature, they loved it. And then 8 months later, that company was acquired, and the company that acquired them canceled the contract. And I was like, wow, we just wasted all that time for one customer that was happy. No one else used this. And then they ended up canceling. Like, I'm never going to do that again. I'm never going to say, this customer is so big that we have to change our entire roadmap for them. There are some trade-offs though, and I'll get to those in a minute. But that was my story of Wind Shuttle and how I'll never do that again. So when you're talking about, look, we're not going to do things for big customers. You have to have a vision and strategy that is very much aligned with sales, with marketing, with your CEO, with everybody in the organization. And you have to get buy-in from sales and marketing. How do you do that though? How do you get buy-in from the sales team to say, this is our strategy, we're gonna do it? And sales is like, yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna sell around the features that we don't have. And it's just a really hard thing to do, right? Like, who has problems with aligning with their sales team? Thank you. Okay. Well, the way you do that is inception. You gotta go in, you have to implant the idea into their head. You have to make it think it's their idea. All kidding aside though, like you also have to be open to their strategy. You have to have an open dialogue to figure out, okay, I see your side. This is what you're trying to aim. This is what our go-to-market strategy is. How can the product help the go-to-market strategy? And that can affect your roadmap. Your way is maybe not always the best way. Although the features that you want to build may be there, but you also may need to build something where that can support your go-to-market strategy. For example, maybe you need to get certain integrations with things. And if you have a certain integration, you can partner with somebody else, and then you can piggyback off of their customers. And that's a go-to-market strategy. But this is where relationships matter. And this is where you have to have a good relationship with sales. I kind of already asked this. How many people have a relationship with sales, like personal relationship with their sales team? Yeah, a few of you, awesome. How many of you have good relationships with CS, where you're talking to them all the time? I am constantly going to lunch with sales. Every single day I go to lunch with sales. Even if I bring lunch, I will still go out with the sales guys to lunch just to be a part of the camaraderie, hear what they're talking about in terms of the product, but also just creating the relationship with them. You know, I get on customer calls with CS, I do support tickets, I'm in the chat. Even though we have people that do the chat, I still like to go in the chat and do tickets just to be closer to the customers. I'm on sales calls where, you know, the sales guy, he knows his stuff, but he's like, hey, there's a few questions that they might ask. It would be nice to have you on for. I get on those calls. You're just closer to the customer that way. Ultimately, where is your desk at? Is your desk in an office shut away from everybody? Is it with the engineering team? I recently moved my desk right in the middle of like 10 sales guys, just to be able to hear what's going back and forth. What are the things that they say when they get off the phone with the customer? Just to be closer to the feedback. Tight feedback loops are so key. Okay, so this is all nice. I've talked about a lot of things. It's all nice in theory, but roadmaps are messy. It's just a messy thing. Like, there's no such thing as like a clean roadmap. If it's a clean roadmap, are you really in a real business? So you got to figure out what's the biggest problem. Is it worth tackling? So we kind of talked about quantifying the problem. Is it worth tackling? How much money are we going to make from it? But the problem, if we solve problem A and it's worth $1 million, but problem B over there is only worth $100,000. Do you prioritize A over B because it's worth more? Not always, right? You have to figure out if we do A, we're gonna have to say no to B for a while, unless you have unlimited resources like Google, Facebook, Apple, etc. You have to say no to things. And so you have to figure out, okay, if we're solving problem A that's worth $1 million, are we gonna survive long enough to get to problem B? Because we know that's a problem, it's just not worth as much money. Or do we switch it? We flip it over and say, you know, we can do problem B pretty quickly. We can get that $100,000, $200,000 in the door, and that will give us the runway we need to do problem A. And so sometimes you have to make those trade-offs. Sales like, hey, we need this feature to make this sale. And you're like, okay, I know customers aren't going to use this feature that much. But there are some of those features where people don't actually use it, but sales loves it and the buyers love it. So like I said, our buyer is not always our user. So we have like a few features where I'm like, I know there's not that many people using it. I have the data, I can tell you right now. But when sales is talking to our buyer, the buyer loves the feature. They just go crazy for it. They're like, oh, that is so cool. People are gonna love that. In reality, people don't love it that much. But you still gotta do it because it's gonna get the sale and it's gonna bring you money. And sometimes you just have to keep those business outcomes top of mind. All right, we're almost done. Practical ways to win. How do you survive when you're small and you're going up against Goliath and they have XYZ feature that you don't have? What are the ways to win? What are some just practical ideas? And at Nectar, we did a few things. You sell around it, right? You got to sell outcomes. So in our world, we don't actually sell recognition software. We sell a good culture. We want your company to have an amazing culture. We want to help build that culture. And so if people are selling feature for feature dumping, that's the worst thing you can do is feature dump. You want to sell outcomes. In fact, some of our salespeople don't know, most of our salespeople don't know every feature that's in the product. And that's the way it should be, right? Because if they're talking about all the different features, they're in the weeds. They're not selling the outcome, the big picture. So you just sell around it. Basically, what I told you about the survey stuff is you just got to figure out a way around it. Another way to do it is just flexible terms. And that's something we did really early on. It was very scary, but it made us actually put our money where our mouth was. In the early days, to win deals, we would say, okay, you can be on a month-to-month contract, because our competitors were doing 1-year deals, 2-year deals, 3-year deals, long-term contracts, which buyers don't love long-term contracts all the time. So we gave them month-to-month, and then we only charged for active users in the platform, which is very scary. So instead of, if you have 500 people at your company, instead of like $3 per user, it would only be $3 per user, whoever logged in to the platform that month. And so it made our job and product a lot harder, because we had to make sure the experience was fantastic so people would log in and use it, because that's how we got paid. If people weren't using the product, we didn't get paid. And ultimately, we've since moved on from this because none of our other competitors were doing that. But it got us a lot of deals early on and gave us some real traction and runway to get going. So that's just another practical idea I thought I'd throw out there. And then customer support. Everybody loves good customer support. Bigger companies have a harder time making sure customer support is a good experience for everybody. Smaller companies can manage that better. So that's something that everybody loves, but you can't just build a company off of good customer support. It's not going to work. It's not going to scale infinitely. Eventually it breaks down. So key takeaways, TLDR for all this is find product market fit and maintain it while you're growing the product and expanding the product. Increase revenue by having upsells, all that stuff, but you have to make sure that you maintain product market fit through doing all that. Then you have to discover the true problems, and you have to figure out which ones are worth solving. You got to have tight feedback loops and constantly assess product market fit in those feedback loops. And then maintain alignment with the entire organization. Your relationships with sales matter. Your relationships with marketing matter. Your relationships with CS matter. If you have a good relationship with them, they will do things for you. They will go to bat for you. They will fight for your vision and strategy on the product. If you don't have a feature, they will sell around it. They will make it happen because you're on the same page. If you're not on the same page, your competitors who may not be on the same page, they are fighting. They're dealing with a lot of office politics, and it's just a waste of time. If you're not wasting time doing that, you're producing results. And then again, all of this, like I talk about it, it all sounds easy to talk about. Talk's cheap, but juggling it is a massive art. Like, it is not a perfect science. If it was, everyone could do it and replicate it. So it's a massive, massive juggling act. Anyway, that's all I have. Thanks so much. Any other questions?
Yeah, so at the first you talked about your different product cycles, A, B, C.
Yeah.
How long is that in between each iteration?
That's a great question. In the early part, it was much longer. We were stubborn, we thought our idea would win. We just needed a different marketing strategy, different sales strategy, whatever. So from like the on-site to the perks, that was probably a year, maybe 2. And then the perks to the gift cards, that was another year or so. And then from the gift cards to the rewards platform, that was pretty fast. That was about 6 months. But it got faster as we were getting more mature, I guess. Yeah.
How often are you checking in with yourself to decide if you still have product market fit? Is that a daily exercise, a weekly meeting, a monthly check-in?
Yeah, that's a good question. Now it's more of like a feature type thing. Like when we release new features, do we still have product market fit? And I'll give things probably a month or so, but usually we know that it's going to be a fit before we release it because we've already quantified it. We know the language support is going to be huge. We know that this workspaces feature that we want to launch is going to be big because we kind of pre-sell it a little bit too. And that's another thing if you're aligned with sales and product, normally you say never pre-sell anything because it may not come, roadmap may change. But if you're so aligned on that vision and strategy and you know that, yeah, this is going to be the next feature, let's start talking about it to see if customers really want it. And if they do, then it's like, great, yeah, we're still plowing ahead with that feature. If it's not, then of course. So I don't know if that answered your question. But it's also kind of like this, you're getting a lot of inputs every single day. And it's not a perfect science to say, okay, we're going to measure this right now. And at this point in time, you just kind of feel if you're losing deals, if you're gaining more deals on each various thing. Yeah.
Got a question from online. Have you ever had sales sell something you didn't have with timelines you couldn't meet, and how did you handle it?
Oh, yeah. Yes, but luckily my leadership team was very supportive about it. And they were like, it was all on sales too. It was their fault, right? They sold something and we said, no, we don't have that. We're not going to be able to get that. It's not even on the roadmap. And ultimately you have to take that to the customer that they sold to and say, sorry, we don't have this. Do you still want to be a customer or do you want to get out of the contract type of thing? So yes, that's happened, but luckily management was on my side, I guess. Any other questions from online? Okay. Yeah.
I was really impressed by that example where you guys killed surveys. I feel like at my org, we are extremely susceptible to like the sunk cost fallacy. I don't think we have the guts to kill a feature even if it doesn't succeed.
It's so scary.
I think we'll just keep pretending that we made the right decision. Was it hard to like convince stakeholders to make that call? Like what was that? I'm kind of curious like how the rubber met the road on that one.
Yeah, it was, they could see just the amount of investment it was going to take to do each of these things. I mean, we were such a small team at the time. It was like the stakeholders, me and talking to the engineer, like we all talked and we said, look, this is what it's going to take to really do this. And luckily our founder originally worked at Qualtrics. And so he knew like a little bit about that specific product and how much it would take to evolve into that. So it was a difficult decision. And in sales, luckily sales was like, look, we're not selling this as much and like we can sell around this. And once again, relationships matter. So Justin.
So on that same subject, you had some survey capability, but you decided to get rid of the whole entire feature.
Yeah.
Tell me about the savings that you gained by getting rid of the feature that you've already written.
I mean, it's hard because you have that sunk cost fallacy, right? But the savings that we gained were just, we could focus on other areas. We could reallocate the engineering resources.
Right. After it's already done, like you had some. Was there some?
There wasn't.
Just like not maintaining it?
Yeah, it was just the maintenance of it. And if we just killed it, people would stop asking for other things on it. But if you keep something alive and sales knows about it, somebody asks for it, sales will be like, oh yeah, we've got that, let's throw it in. And you're like, whoa, we weren't trying to throw that in anymore. That's like, we're trying to sunset that. They're like, but the customer needed it and we have it, so we might as well. And it's just a snowball effect. And then you have to start maintaining it again. So no immediate savings, but like, it's just stopping things from spending occurring in the future. Yeah.
What's your approach when a competitor has a feature that actually does fit within your product roadmap and you want to?
Yeah, that's a good question. One, I mean, if it's already in our roadmap and we've already adopted it, that means we've already kind of proven that it's worth doing. And then it's just a matter of, okay, what's the priority right now? Do we think we can survive long enough without that feature to win deals and compete? Or do we need to change up the strategy? And roadmap and strategy changes all the time. So it's just really a matter of evaluating, are we losing enough deals to it to really make it worth switching everything? And language support, that was kind of one of those features where it was like, man, I really don't want to do that right now because it feels like we're just trying to get feature parity with some of these others. But eventually you lose enough deals to it where it's like, okay, we just got to switch it. Yeah.
So on that note, I appreciated your comments around kind of
locating yourself with the sales team, I'm kind of curious to know how you get reliable win-loss data from your sales team. Just to kind of know how you quantify that potentially.
Yeah, this is where having a good head of sales and person who does sales ops and CEO all comes into place because they care very, very much about that. And so they are tracking that a lot, which helps me because if I were having to tell them, hey, you guys need to track this stuff, it would be a lot harder. So I'm very fortunate to have where they care that they just take care of it. And I can just go ask them and they'll be like, all right, let's pull it up and figure it out.
So I guess that goes a long way to align incentives.
Yeah. Yeah.
How often do you compete with direct competitors versus kind of the indirect ones versus kind of, I would call it non-consumption or, people doing internal processes?
That's a great question. It varies depending on where the lead came from. So actually, fun fact about Nectar is we were 100% inbound sales, meaning people called us, people set appointments with us. We for almost the entire time we've been at Nectar, we've been completely inbound. We've never had any SDRs calling people selling outbound sales. So that's really nice. But a huge benefit of that was like a lot of them saw what we had on some LinkedIn post somewhere, and it was the first time they were seeing something like this. So in the early days, it was like we were losing more sales to people just doing nothing at all. And now it's transitioned to we're competing with a lot more people, direct competitors. But when we do the outbound motion, which we've transitioned to now, we're much more outbound than we are inbound, just because we want to grow faster. With outbound, because our product is so new, we're dealing with a lot of people who have never heard of our competitors before. And so I guess it just kind of changes based on what the go-to-market strategy is. And if your go-to-market strategy is like, let's partner with somebody. So for example, we partner with Bamboo HR. We're in their marketplace. But if they have all of our competitors in the marketplace, it's a lot more competitive there. So it kind of depends on the go-to-market strategy. Yeah.
Another one online. Can you expand on the process or system you use to ensure tight and actionable feedback loops?
Yeah. A little archaic, to be honest. It's a lot of inputs going into Nate's mind, and then Nate comes out with something. So there's not really a good science for it, and that's kind of why this whole thing is an art, I say. But we do have a not customer feedback, but like a user feedback channel. So anytime sales or customer support, they hear something, they put that in the feedback channel. I'm constantly bookmarking those things in Slack, and probably about once a month, I'll go through them and try to see, okay, what are commonalities, what are common problems, and then group them together. And then I will actually go talk to a lot of those customers to kind of pull that thread a little bit. The other feedback stuff is just like me going in the middle of sales and just trying to hear things. And if I hear things that are common to what things are getting officially reported, it's like it gives it a little bit more weight, right? And so it's just this massive weighting system in my mind that I haven't really figured out how to explain yet.
Another question.
Yeah.
Do you have a standard process for getting customer feedback to assess product market fit?
Good question. I wouldn't say we have a great standard method right now. We've just started launching NPS surveys, which I avoided for a long, long time based on where I came from. We think NPS surveys are stupid, but they are stupid. But because like really, who does the middle? No one. It's just the ends. But it gives you a place to start pulling on that thread. And so that's one thing we started to do. We also have people that review our software in G2, and we actually try to encourage all of our users to do that. And I will go through G2 and like look at like what are the pros and cons that people are putting in. I'll look at the cons and pull threads there and just kind of take things there. Those are like the most official ways. And then it's just whenever CSMs are talking to a customer and doing their check-in calls, they'll ask certain things, and kind of pull threads there. But a lot of times we're just moving so fast that people are throwing stuff at us, and we just kind of decide if it's worth it or if it's tabled type of thing. Yeah.
Have you considered product-led growth as a go-to-market strategy? And if so,
Yes.
why not?
Good question. So when we first started with Nectar, we were like, man, selling or buying is changing. People don't want to talk to the salesman. They don't want to talk. They just want to educate themselves and they want to buy it. And so we built the whole thing to be able to be product led. And I should have talked about that more in here, honestly, because we ultimately decided to kill that too. Because our product didn't necessarily fit product led growth very well because you were rolling out to the entire company. This was a very big decision that management had to make, that they wanted to buy this product and roll it out to the entire company. You had to roll it out to the entire company, and there were a lot of budget decisions that had to be made. It couldn't be just one HR person saying, this is the budget we're going to give everybody. It was like, no, this is real money that we're spending. We have to figure out what the budget is. So many stakeholders were involved. And so it just kind of made, it just wasn't a great process for our product. And so we decided to kill it, and we decided to take away our free version even. And yeah, just go with the sales motion. You actually talk to a salesperson type of thing, because it gave us more of the ability to consult. And the other thing too with that, I'll just add real quick, is that people, because this was like such a new thing, people had all these different ideas. And some companies are like, we don't want to do points. We just want to have the recognition. And it's like, yeah, it's more about the recognition and not about the points, but the points get people to do the recognition because it has some monetary value. And so if you didn't have like those conversations with them early, they would go one way and launch. And because they didn't do points, the employees were like, I don't want to use the system, it's pointless. No pun intended. And so then the usage would be terrible, and then the customer would cancel. And it's like, well, we could have consulted them much earlier on how to use the platform and how to be successful. And so that's why we ultimately killed.
So you have like just follow-up question. Mix between in-product onboarding versus customer success onboarding, and how does that work together?
We're moving more towards just customer success onboarding right now. And that's twofold, because there's not as many engineering resources that are needed with that. We can just kind of throw it on customer support a little bit more. And then it's just allowing a better consulting type of role. That's it.
I may have answered this a little bit, but just more of a direct question. So what I'm hearing from your talk here is that you're getting a lot of pointers from sales.
Yeah.
Some of the feedback I get at my work from others around me is, we know a lot about our customers, but we don't know a lot about our non-customers. How are we supposed to build a product for our non-customers if we're not talking to them?
Yeah.
So that's my question. I'm not trying to answer it, but it feels like you're saying the way that you find out what your non-customers need is through your sales. Is that the only way, or are there some other tricks to find out, or is it good enough just to listen to your current customers, because you know if you can make an awesome product for them,
It's not good enough to listen to your own customers. Case in point, like everyone has a different way of how they do recognition. And so I will actually, so just an example. So you remember Molly, who used to work at Sawtooth? She works for another company now. She's kind of in an HR role, and I was talking to her, I'm like, hey, I'd love to talk to your HR person. Not necessarily to sell them. I just want to know, like, what does this process look like for you guys internally? And so I went, talked with her for about an hour, and it was awesome. I could just pick all these different things, pick her brain on this. Why do you do it like this? Why do you do it like that? What's going on with this? And just see, we've got a new product coming out soon. Who knows what soon is? But it's built around a lot of that feedback from non-customers. And so sometimes I'll just go up and down Utah County and just walk in and be like, hey, can I talk to this person?
So you're specifically reaching out?
I'm specifically reaching out, but then sales is also reaching out, right? You can't just sell to your own customers. And yeah, you need to be talking to people who are not your customers. You can't just expand current customers. And so the way we run our sales is like, sales does not talk to current customers. Sales never talks to current customers. They don't sell anything to current customers. It's only the CSMs, customer success managers, who are upselling and expanding current customers. And so it's two different channels. But yeah.
Let's take one more question.
There's one online that came through. Does Nectar follow a specific process or system that ensure? They already asked it. Never mind.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other questions?
Thanks, guys. This is awesome. Super fun.
Yeah, more pizzas back there, and time to mingle amongst each other. Thanks for coming, guys. Appreciate it.